Well, this is our 11th episode of Dog's Red Wine. I'm here with my almost famous sidekick, Jason. And we have had quite a couple weeks since we last did a show, haven't we?
Yeah. In Puerto Rico.
We did. We went down to San Juan, Puerto Rico. We flew separately, you and your girlfriend and your daughter.
Yeah.
And my daughter and I, we flew down separately. So, what did you think of the whole? What do you think of San Juan? Would you go back?
I'd go back without kids.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Traveling with a 17 and 18
yeah, they were
daughters.
They were like party animals, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, because legal drinking age is 18 in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Well, I think the legal drinking age in Puerto Rico, when they actually check your ID, is probably 3. You know?
Whatever. They didn't check any ID ever. And they look young. I mean, they're 18 and they look 15.
I would say your daughter looks younger than my daughter.
Yeah, I agree.
I would definitely cart her at 8 for 18. I'd be like,
right.
16, you look like...
Yeah, she looks like she's 15 or 16. But the only thing they cared about was boys and drinking.
And boys and drinking, yeah.
And so...
we just wanted drinking.
but yeah...
No boys for me!
There's a lot of areas of the island we didn't get to explore, but we got to explore some pretty cool stuff.
So we were probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes from the airport. And we were on a street called Taft.
Yeah, it's a nice
which I found out later was like the street to live on. That was like the nicest part.
Yeah.
One of the nicest parts of San Juan. I didn't think much of the food, did you?
The area we were in, it was almost like tourist pricing. You know, it seemed like it was
and tourist quality.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I say that what I mean is they don't care if they see you again.
Right. That's the way
you brought food back the first night.
Right.
And it was
like
edible.
Right.
It was edible, but it wasn't like, oh my God.
And it was like $200 for 5 people, which isn't outrageous, but for takeout and then you get back and it's like
it was just pasta mostly.
Yeah.
You know, so
it was. I thought it was a little.
Total, there might have been $20 worth of food.
Yeah, right.
Instead
for $200.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys had a few cocktails while you're there.
Just one each.
One
so,
each.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So that wasn't. But yeah.
And the only other time we really ate out was the next day. We went to that like coffee shop down the street.
That was a cute coffee shop.
I definitely would go. It was actually more enjoyable to sit in and probably just drink coffee.
Probably, yeah.
Because the food was sort of dry, actually.
I think they were trying to make it like healthy, you know, like everything was a healthy version.
Yeah.
Because I had huevos rancheros, but there was no beans, there was no. I guess there was eggs, but there was no chorizo or anything like that. So.
But we had a lot of good meals at home.
Yeah. You
guys hit the grocery store and made a few delicious dishes.
Yeah.
Started the day with bacon. You can't beat that. You got to start the day with bacon.
And paella. That paella meal was
that. You know, I had never seen it. So he bought this kit. It was black ink, with squid ink or cuttlefish ink, and we had some clams we added to it, and mussels, and chicken, and some calamari.
Yeah, it was
and
good.
The kit. And,
it was good.
Yeah, it was. It was a good meal.
Yeah, it was Dana's first time having paella, and she thought it was one of her new favorites.
Oh, cool. Well, maybe we'll do the other one with sort of more of a yellowish color.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever heard of black paella.
Yeah.
It worked.
It was great.
It worked.
It was great.
It was tasty.
So
the place we stayed at, which was an Airbnb, that was nice. It was
really nice.
It was cool.
Yeah,
cold enough.
Yeah,
got AC in it and great view. I mean, the view out the kitchen window, because it dead ends right there, right at the beach, and there's always something going on.
Right,
and it was like having a giant TV while it's cooking. I was like looking out the
And it really, I mean, you literally walked out onto the beach. Yeah. It was like you couldn't have been closer.
No, I mean, you were out the gate and onto the beach.
Sand, yeah.
It was. Yeah. So that was nice. We also took a trip up through San Juan.
Yeah.
That was
Old San Juan.
Old San Juan.
Saw the castles and the little shops. It was painted beautiful. It almost reminded me of like the photos you see of the Amalfi Coast, that area, because it's up high.
Right. Well, in the Caribbean, those colors are pretty common.
Yeah.
On buildings.
Yeah. You lived in St. Thomas for a while.
and hung out in the BVIs or worked in the BVIs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's pretty traditional look to the architecture.
Okay.
I thought a lot of the shops were pretty cheesy. I mean, there's not that many Rolex shops in Old San Juan.
Right.
And so we just drove through, which actually was perfect.
Yeah, because
everybody else was sweating and walking up hills and
all the little cobblestone streets. Yeah. And it would have been hard to find parking anyway. I would recommend probably Uber.
Uber, or there were some touristy buses.
Yeah,
taking different places.
Yeah.
Now we went from there to the rainforest.
Yeah.
That was your idea, and that was actually a good trip.
Yeah, and the daughters. That was one day that they didn't chase boys and drink. So we climbed up a waterfall, and they got to swim underneath the waterfall, and then climbed to the higher waterfall, and they had a nice little adventure. It was pretty remote. It was like rainforest. There was plenty of other people around. But
I think what's interesting is you're on an island, and you literally go from it's too hot to it might be a little bit too cool.
Because you go up in altitude.
Oh yeah, and, our ears popped a few times on the way up, but it's sort of neat to go to what you think of as an island. It's a big island. Yeah, I've heard you can drive around it in a day, but it'd be a long day. Sure, yeah. It was like 48 miles or something long. Yeah, and then you'd want to stop and stuff. Yeah. Too, but couple areas that we didn't get to. We didn't get to the south area. There's a bioluminescence bay that tried to get talk teenage girls into going kayaking at night, and they're on their phones with their new boyfriends that they... Yeah, it really doesn't matter where they go. After you left, we had way too much time to wait for the plane. Yeah. So I actually asked our host, and she's like, well, you can get a day pass to these different pools. And there is a website called, I think it's daypass.com. Okay. And I didn't read the fine print, so it was a fair amount, and it said $99 for the two of us. Nice. So I'm like, that's not bad, right? Not at all. And I got 5 or 6. Well, when I got there, they're like, well, that includes $200. You have to buy $200 worth of food and alcohol. And I'm like, for another $100, I can get a room. Yeah, exactly. And I made enough of a fuss that I'm like, look, I wouldn't have signed up for this, and now I'm stuck here. Right. And they took it off. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. We had a little food, but not between, I don't need $200 worth of food. Yeah. Well, I picked out the one today, and I ought to be honest with you. I picked it out for 2 reasons, but one reason I picked it out is the label, and you'll see the. Oh, cool. So it's a twist off. Yeah. Which is fine. Yeah, as long as it's not Moon Farm. Right. I remember when they first started coming out with this, with the caps, the twist caps, and the sommeliers thought it was a nightmare, and for good reason. You take away the cork and the opening of the wine. The sommelier comes up, and what does he do? Put a cap on the. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So the light's really coming through this, so I think it's light. Mm-hmm. Like maybe a Beaujolais or... Well, you want to try it? No, it smells a lot more strength than a Beaujolais. Not very fruity. I have no idea what it is, but I like it.
Mm.
It can't be
It's
Californian.
it's a Pinot Noir.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and it's an Oregon Pinot Noir, but it's Russian River, so it still runs.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So and
I found Oregon wines to be generally on the sweeter side, and this is not sweet at
right,
all. But
right.
it doesn't look like a Pinot, does it?
No, it's pretty light.
It's more like almost what a pink wine almost. But we also have a lot of light coming in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's daylight savings.
Mm.
But yeah,
That was a good choice. I don't know what you got, but so you did buy me this book
it was yeah, it was in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. And what's funny is I actually started reading it. Which
is it in English?
Yeah, it's totally in English.
Oh, okay.
And what I found out, it was the Scouts were started by the French.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Neither did I. And I think it's French. I don't have my glasses on, But like in the 1800s, this general was like, all these recruits don't know how to survive like an hour out in the forest. So he taught them how to be scouts, how to survive. And really, if you think about Boy Scouts and Weeblos and all that, it's all about putting a pack on and taking care of yourself or taking care of others while you're out in the...
Right. Yeah,
aside from the discipline and stuff like that, but it makes sense that a lot of Boy Scouts, I mean, maybe our generation, but not today's generation,
right,
was a prelude for a lot of them to go into the military.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. Like they go through that Eagle Scout, and a lot of Eagle Scouts became successful military leaders.
Oh yeah, well, it was a way of getting into some colleges,
right, like West Point, and stuff like that. Right,
and it's not easy to become an Eagle Scout.
No, I think you have to start young and be pretty dedicated. I think you have to, like, more than likely have parental influence pushing you that direction. Because I think nobody is that 8 years old is that focused. That's gonna be.
I did Cub Scouts, and I'm guessing I was around 10 when I joined Cub Scouts, and there was a huge emphasis on how the government works,
which is lacking out of a lot of young people's understanding.
Yeah, they don't teach civics anymore. Right. I think they don't know anything about the Constitution. I think you could pretty much ask any 18-year-old. Yeah. Although Ocean, I would say in the last year or two, they were studying the amendments, so that's a good thing.
I think the current government situation is making a lot of people, adults and children, like open up the, Bill of Rights and, I mean.
Yeah, what's this all about?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely a huge amount of turmoil. Most of my adult life, I figured there was some pretty big shenanigans going on in the government. And I'm not even talking JFK files, which I don't think they've released all those. Because if this is what I was waiting 40 years to hear about, I'm totally disappointed. I mean, right. Talking about putting a turkey in suspense, for absolutely no reason.
Right, right.
I think there's more to come, but I don't think what we want to hear about we're hearing about. And the same with the Epstein files and MLK.
I would like the Epstein files to be totally released. I think let the people that should be burning, let them burn.
One of the gals who was involved with Prince Andrew and some other people that are quite well known, she got in a car accident the other day.
Oh, really?
She got hit by a bus in her car. And the bus was going 60 miles an hour. And she put out like a video yesterday saying she has 4 days to live.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really hard to keep someone who's only got 4 days to live under any type of, do not talk about.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything they can do about that. So she might get the ball rolling. I have heard that Pam Bondi and the head of the FBI, they're actually, instead of just releasing all this, they're setting up indictments.
Oh, wow.
Now, I don't know. When it comes to indicting someone, if it's not Trump, I'll believe it when I see it. The power and the money of the people who were on that island that we know of.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're still being blackmailed by the CIA or whoever's got that info, but those people just never seem to get it. Yeah, I mean, get it.
Right.
They walk away in their suit and tie and hop on their plane and go.
Yeah.
The Prince Charles, he's King of England now, right? He kicked his brother and Prince Andrew out of the family for shenanigans with this girl.
Oh, really?
So if that isn't, nothing's happened to him. I'm sure getting kicked out of the royal family sucks.
Yeah, probably less parties to go to.
But better than jail, which obviously he should probably be in jail for what he did. There's no statute of limitations.
No, not on
anything that was
trafficking.
Done down there.
And you're right. Yeah. Right. The FBI has that information because the documentary showed they had video of them clearing out the safe. I mean, they had a safe full of film and stuff like that. He was recording in stuff. He was a freak. And
so where did you see a documentary on this?
Several years ago, a few years ago.
Okay.
It was current, very current at the time. So.
Yeah, the amount of so the government's obviously in on that. They're in on. I just read before we came online, or started recording. Excuse me. That the FBI put a gag order on the laptop, his son's laptop. The FBI put a gag order on
that.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I don't like when they. I understand people's rights and stuff like that, but the 9/11 entire master plan was on the ringleader's laptop, and they had him in custody for 2 full weeks before the September 11th attacks, and the FBI repeatedly was asking the judge for permission to access, and she said no, till the day after the towers fell, and then she's like, well, maybe we should look at that, and the whole plan was on there, flight numbers, plane tickets, everything was on there.
Yeah, when it first happened, my thought was there's no way the government could be in on something that awful.
Yeah.
And the way I am now is, wow, the government was in on something that awful.
I tend to agree, and mostly I tend to agree because of history. And I'll refer to the creature from Jekyll Island again.
Right.
But it history dates for the last 250 years or more. All the different types of flag operations, they call them, where the government does something to give the public the illusion that something else happened.
Right. I just really thought there was no way they could cover up something that big. And obviously they can't, because we know certain things that we didn't know on 9/11. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember 9/11 quite well. I was living in Las Vegas. And the plane stopped flying in. We used to, out our balcony you could see the planes coming every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Just stopped.
Yeah.
And the town emptied out.
Yeah.
Everybody thought, well, that's going to be the next place they hit.
Right.
So everybody got out of town. And all the casinos had flags waving on their digital boards saying, God bless America.
Yeah.
I'll never see that again in Las Vegas, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I was a pilot during that time, and I was at home. I was supposed to go into work that day, and a lot of pilots, because the air traffic controllers just made everybody land at the closest airport. A lot of them couldn't even go to the destination. They're like.
So if you were on the other side of the country,
a lot of them were stuck
pretty
there
much took a bus home over the next week.
Yeah, or they most of them just ended up staying in the hotels because eventually they figured they'd open up the airspace and those airplanes had to fly someplace. But
how long did they close the airspace to?
I think it was 3 full days.
Okay,
so
seemed longer. I remember finally going out. It's like the first night that people left home. I mean, everything, it didn't shut down per se. You weren't told you couldn't go anyplace, but people just...
Everything was closed. I remember I had young kids at the time and sick of watching TV, got to get out, get some good fresh energy. Went to the zoo. The zoo was closed. It was like, okay, well... I mean, I get it. Like the workers wanted to be home with their family,
Right. Well,
that's the only thing I could.
And also, we were all glued to the TV.
Right.
And right at the same time, the anthrax. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really was just a mental.
Right.
Everybody was freaked out.
Right. But the government was involved with September 11th. The government was involved with the sinking of the. I'm going to probably get this a little bit wrong. The Lusitania ship.
Uh-huh.
That.
Didn't the Germans sink it thinking it was military or something?
There was an ad in the Iowa City newspaper that said, "Do not travel on the boat that day." It was orchestrated. It was to outrage the American people, so it would push us to going into war.
Yeah, you hear that about Pearl Harbor as well. That they let Pearl Harbor happen.
Yeah, and that could have been a little bit of negligence or Pearl Harbor was horrible, but I think Pearl Harbor. Well, the sad thing about it is, yes, they knew about it.
Yeah,
and they chose to do nothing. Maybe because they didn't think it was possible, but it was possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who knows?
Right.
And where we are right now is most of the citizens of the United States are coming to the conclusion that our government is way more dishonest than we've ever imagined.
When we were in Puerto Rico, we'd watch a little bit of this movie every morning. A great movie, but it kind of ties into the conspiracies of the moon landing.
Oh yeah.
Fly Me to the Moon. It came out last year. Fun, great, well done movie. But it kind of ties in how the American public gets manipulated by the government. Right.
Well, we just went through COVID.
Right.
And that was hopefully the last time they're going to get away with that crap.
Yeah.
I think they jumped the shark.
Yeah.
On that down the road. I mean, because I don't think anybody now really thinks it was real.
Do you know where Jump the Shark came from?
No idea.
Okay. This is Jump the Shark is our generation. So there was a really popular movie, Happy Days. Do you remember Happy Days?
Yeah.
So Happy Days, it was well running, kept going. They kind of ran out of stuff. They ran out of people for the Fonz to fight. They ran out of people for, the cast was getting older, And in one of the final episodes that they kept building it up, the Fonz was going to jump the shark on water skis.
Oh, really?
And the whole thing was such a far cast from the point of the show that the show kind of just went severely downhill after that. And so when they say jump the shark, it's like you don't want to be on TV long enough that you're jumping the shark.
Okay, gotcha.
So
overstayed your welcome. So
yeah, that's why Seinfeld, they went out when they were on top. They could have probably went. They could probably still be doing it today with like a fraction of the viewers, but they went out on top, and people watch the reruns today.
And Friends.
Yeah, Friends, same, yeah. But yeah, that was a production lesson learned. Jump the shark is from Happy Days when Fonz jumped the shark. But I'm excited about this label.
Expose your wine.
All right, so here at Dog's Red,
from Oregon, I have.
Yeah, here at Dog's Red Wine, we like to drink Dog's Red Wine.
Is it really Dog's Red Wine?
It's
how funny.
It's just got but it's a small vineyard in Oregon. I
would say that's the first Oregon wine I've enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It's not
usually they're terrible. I mean, sorry Oregon, but Oregon doesn't really make great wines.
So I actually
unless you like sweet wines or mead. They're good at mead.
Mead is nasty.
Yeah.
But I stayed at when I was on my RV trip. Kramer Family Vineyard in Oregon, and helped out with the harvest. Got to pick grapes.
Oh, cool!
I think I picked
Saka
22. Yeah. Got free camping, I guess, and we drank wine and we got to know their families.
Maybe some dinner and throw.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, got to learn about the whole operation of small family vineyards. But well, cheers.
Good choice.
So
it's more you drink it, it's pretty light.
It is light. Yeah. But
Pinots usually get a little more of a to it.
Yeah, probably a little bit of that is the Oregon climate versus the Sonoma climate.
The Pinot grape in a different temperature,
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to, I want to talk about Doge.
All right, let's talk about it.
Because Doge, as we've been taping our show, was like, what? And now it's like, whoa. So I think it was last night, maybe the night before, but Elon, they just finished with Social Security Department. They found over 3 million newly issued Social Security numbers given to illegal immigrants. And over 1 million of them were getting full benefits.
Yeah.
Like they were getting the most you can get from the government with a Social Security number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of them were bragging on it. Some of them had like social media channels saying that go down, get your Social Security number. I'm getting $14,000 for,
We have to feel foolish at this point. Shouldn't
the ultimate waste.
And the politicians don't seem to care a whit that this has been exposed. They're still complaining about Elon, as though Elon stole the money. Yeah. Now, Elon didn't steal a freaking thing.
Right.
So you don't blame Elon for getting caught.
Elon didn't get caught. They're getting
caught. Right.
Yeah.
And then what they're doing to the cars is just, I mean, for one, apparently people who are dumb enough to put a swastika on
a Tesla
don't know that Teslas have 12 cameras.
Yeah, right.
So they're all on camera.
Yeah.
Doing this,
Yeah.
and they're getting caught. But I mean, some of these people I think are like pretty normal people. So what is going on that someone has to be getting them to do this? This is not organic.
I think that they're on like Facebook groups that they're all of a sudden think that they.
But are people that susceptible to do suggestion?
Of course they are. Of course they are. They're so easily. So
okay, if that's true, we got a problem, don't we?
We have a big problem.
Because these people, are the free speech, right? They're
no, they
or they just do what they're told.
They do what they're fed, and social media has been able to manipulate them and get into their phones and their heads so easy that and then they get into, I mean, most people in social media find like-minded people or friends and family, and so the problem of critical thinking is really going to bite our country as a whole, because artificial intelligence requires critical thinking to check it, right?
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is great, and generally it does a better job than a human at singular tasks, but you have to critical think to say, does that make sense? Does that sound, I mean, because sometimes, like the dog food thing, for instance, it made it up. It did, the brand didn't even exist.
Just to clue you in, I asked AI what was the best dog food, best nutritional for the price. And it came up with a name and it told me why. And I went to go buy some and it made it up. There was no such dog food in existence.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're right. Because
poor Franklin.
We're getting to the point where, okay, if people are going to, but will they use AI to check their ignorance? I mean, I use AI to research something, right? Like I just don't know the answer of, and I can get more complete answer.
Yeah.
So I'll do that, but then sometimes I'm like, this is quite biased. But what's it using to get the answer? Well, it's using all the newspaper articles, and it's using. So who's writing those?
Well, and here's another thing is I use ChatGPT almost exclusively. I really have a good interaction with ChatGPT. For one, I'm surprised that more people don't know about it. Like my own sister, who I feel is intelligent and up to date on a lot of things, she'd never heard of ChatGPT. I'm like,
never heard of it?
Never heard of it. My mom, I can see she hadn't heard of it. I mean,
I use mostly Grok.
Yeah, and Grok is X based, right?
Right, but it's still pretty left leaning.
So
I sometimes I ask it a question and I go, that sounds sort of leftist.
Yeah,
and it goes, yeah, you're right. Here's the other side of it.
And so that's what happens. So it gives you the media
popular
version,
answer.
the popular answer first. And so, for an example, I'm pretty well informed about September 11th. And we talk about, and everybody knows about World Trade Center 1 and 2 collapsing, planes hitting them, all that. World Trade Center 7.
There's no reason.
So I asked ChatGPT about World Trade Center 7, and it gave me like the Fox News version.
Yeah.
And I said, what about the University of Alaska study that proved that World Trade Center 7 was detonated and it was impossible that it was anything else than man-made? And then it came up with an hour worth of conversation of...
So if you I don't want to say expose it, but if you ask it why did it do what it did, it pretty much confesses.
It does, and it says, sorry for the oversight, memory updated. And so it's like, it's without critical thinking, it actually takes away your brain power. Because if you're just going to trust something else,
right? Yeah,
that's obviously like I said, at a single task, way smarter than us.
Well,
way
that
faster
was
than
when
us.
when I first started using ChatGPT. It was pretty obvious to me it had a bias because I asked it questions that I knew the answer to, and I wasn't like wishy-washy about the answer. And I was like, "Whoa, how's it going to answer?" And it would not answer.
Yeah.
In an honest way.
Right.
So there is a bias.
And
we're going to keep that bias as long as the people who are in charge of making it implement it. But sooner or later, the technology, I don't know this for a fact, but in my reckoning, AI in time should become homogeneous, where it doesn't matter who asks the question or what the question is, it should give you an honest answer.
Yeah, and if we can have a manipulated experience like we have, I mean, there's got to be some regulations put into place, but they have to be careful not to over-regulate it. Otherwise, it becomes not useful, and then the Chinese have all the technology.
Well, the other side of it is, how do you regulate it?
Yeah. It's a trick. Even Elon Musk is very concerned about. He's developing it. You know what I mean?
Well, not only developing it, he put satellites up. He's talking about a phone that isn't like what we're using now, so it's uncensored in essence, unregulated phone. So if you have that phone, that satellite, you can go directly to AI at some point. And so we get an honest answer or not an honest answer. And will one country get one answer, another?
Well,
screw you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
What's Putin up to? Oh, he's going to buy me tomorrow, probably.
Yeah. But critical thinking is, and we live in a really good public school district area. It's been nationally acclaimed and awarded.
Top 5% for Ohio.
I think of the nation, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a few years ago, anyway. But it was super disappointing to me when they just ban the use of any ChatGPT or artificial intelligence to enhance homework and stuff like that. They're really missing out. They need to be teaching these kids how to use AI and how to control AI and use it to their advantage to help them further their career. Instead, they're just saying, no, you can't use it.
I shared an article on Facebook today. So there are private schools in Texas who are using AI tutors. The kids shot up to the top 2%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this is a short-term issue. Because in 5 to 10 years, I don't like Bill Gates much, but I agree.
Yeah.
Most jobs are going to be taken over by robots and AI. No offense to you pilots, but you don't have to pay them. They don't get sick. They don't.
Yeah. Airbus, the manufacturer, has been working with Cathay Pacific, which is a Chinese, Hong Kong-based carrier. They've been working with them for 4 years now, doing testing on single pilot operations. Because right now there's 2. There used to be 3. There used to be 4. I mean, you used to have a navigator, a flight engineer, a captain, and a co-pilot. And then it became a captain and a co-pilot and a flight engineer. And now, as technology has increased, now you just have a captain and a co-pilot. And where technology is leading us is we're going to soon have a pilot and an artificial intelligence, pilot.
I mean, I think mentally humans want a human up there just in case.
I think there'll always be one human up there.
Just in case, so it can be overridden.
Yeah.
But do you want a... I mean, that's happened, hasn't it? That we've had some bad pilots who have...
German Wings, the pilot captain went out to the bathroom, and the co-pilot was under some mental stress and killed everybody. Yeah, put him. Yeah, so and yeah.
But an AI wouldn't have allowed that.
Right, and
so you'd have to have a switch. So the switch is good if it's bad, but it's bad if everything's good.
Yeah,
right?
And you have to have. I mean, not everybody is good in the world, so I mean, you have to have so many protections on there, so you couldn't upload viruses, and I mean,
right.
it's a computer. It's the whole thing's a computer algorithm. You want a critical thinking human in there at least as a backup, if not the main thing. So right now, the Airbus airplanes, I know because I fly them, is after takeoff, after 100 feet above the ground, you can put the autopilot on, and it will fly the pre-programmed flight path. And if you're going into a major airport that has like a RNAV GPS approach, you can tie that in, and then you physically have to configure the airplane, like put the flaps and the gear down and stuff like that. But it will fly that approach all the way to a landing, do the landing, even in a crosswind, roll out on center line, and stop.
So
before you even have to take the autopilot off. So the autopilot can't take off yet.
Yeah. It can't, or it's not allowed to.
It can't. I mean, it doesn't have the programming to do it.
Okay, so is it the variable of taking? I don't know enough to. I'm asking a very vague question. I know because I don't know how to ask it. So
you could program it to.
You could
program it. Yeah.
So it's not.
Right.
You have to have eyes on it, or
right. You could program it to do the whole thing, because right now it does it. Like I said, minimum authorized altitude is 160 feet. So you could put it on technically at 160 feet. Most pilots, because they like to fly, they fly it up like 10,000 feet before they put it on. But
so it's sort of boring up there.
There's a lot of cross checks and stuff, and you have to constantly switch frequencies of different radios, because as you fly across the country or the world,
so you end up talking quite a bit to your co-pilot.
Oh yeah.
Now, are most co-pilots someone you know, or does the airline just say, "I need one of you and one of you"?
So it's a biddable position. So as seniority, you get to choose like your days on, days off, your routes, your city. So the more seniority you have in your position, you get to choose. And generally, you end up flying with like a first officer or a co-pilot will fly with a captain of kind of relative seniority, because they're both relative senior enough that they can choose. I only want to fly Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I want to do my layover in Vegas and San Diego and whatever.
Do especially single pilots, do they look at the world as their oyster? Do they want to check out the world? Do they use it that way? I want to check out Belgium. I want to check out France.
I think so. I mean, one of the nice perks of an airline pilot is you get to fly anywhere in the world for free. So,
yeah.
So that's always nice.
So what's your favorite place you've just like gone to without? I just want to check it out.
I'm really in there's so many different dynamics of that question. But
have you done anything in Asia? Have you traveled to Asia?
I haven't done really. I've done Bali,
Yeah, we talked
in
about
Indonesia.
that.
Yeah, and I was there for a long time. But Italy,
Thailand or
I haven't done any Thailand stuff, but
Australia.
Italy, no, never done Australia.
Oh,
So
you need to get out more.
yeah,
You're gonna,
yeah.
yeah.
But some places I really love is I love like the U.S. Rocky Mountains, and I
Maybe we can
love the
send you
U.S.
on a
West
remote,
Coast mission.
yeah.
So, but
So
I've popped
if
in.
you want to get interviewed by Jason, just ask and he'll fly out and see you.
Right, right.
So what did you and I have been working on the last couple of weeks on something pretty cool. What I found out that you can add a 30-second spot to your Google business ad.
So this is really cool. So our business, Dogs Red Wine, one thing that we do is we create video content for businesses. So, but Google just recently, when you click on something like a Google, like before, let's say you Googled pet store, and your local pet store would come up and it would just have the listing. Well, now you can have a 30-second video. When somebody Googles pet store, local pet store, your business will come up. We can walk you through your pet store. We can introduce, your.
We can also run it as special, right? So you could just run dog adoptions,
Anything,
thing at the end of the month for a month,
right?
and then change it to another video.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
if anybody goes to your listing, it's automatically there. Plus, you can use it for advertising.
Right.
And 30-second spot is so much better than print ad.
Well, and it's free because it's just your Google listing.
Right.
So it's not like you have to pay Google to advertise. It's not like you have to pay to have your video, and you don't have to even rely on somebody to click on a Facebook or YouTube ad. It's like they just are Googling.
Someone is looking for you.
And let's use the pet store thing again as an example. Let's say you were in a new area, just local pet store. Bloom. It's like, let's say your video was third down, but the other two are just like
no video at all.
Either a still picture or just words, and then all of a sudden there's this video of showing all the pet supplies, little kittens and fish,
right.
and happy smiling customers.
So we're doing these for $250, and you could literally send your logo, your photos, some video clips, and he'll edit it into a beautiful video for you.
It's called Google Business Listings.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean the Google Business Video Listings.
Yeah. Well,
and it's new. I first saw it in Miami for the first time, and I'm like, I saw it, and I'm like, that's where I want to go eat. Yeah. So it was really pretty.
Well, we know how dominant Google is, so it's sort of a no-brainer. Plus, you can use the 30-second spot for your Facebook page,
right.
Instagram, and everything else.
Right.
But we're making it you can make it once and use it, 10 times.
Yeah, I mean, we don't hold on to the content. You get the content.
You own it.
And you can use it wherever you want, and we'll show you how to upload it to your Google listing. And but then you'll still
I
have
did
the
it
content.
yesterday, and it was so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I just literally click upload. It'll be approved. They approved it in 20
It just has to be the right.
They say 24 hours, but it was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It was live.
Right.
Running.
I think their algorithm just have to scan it for different, making sure it's not no copyright music and all that stuff.
We might be okay even on copyright. Is it 30 seconds, or what's the sample?
No, actually, it's
15 or 20 seconds.
No. The copyright's very strict on any kind of music.
Oh, commercials, yeah.
Yeah, so
unless
you're going to pay the royalty.
It's not like when you're posting a short on YouTube and you include a well-known musician, they probably, well, you're not advertising for
Right.
one. You're
Right.
just
Right.
petting your dog.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's um, it's a great service.
It is.
And it's up and coming, and I think $250 is I mean, it's especially when how marketable it is, how versatile it is, where you can put it
and
on
you're
all
making
this.
it, so there's
There you go.
a ton of value in
Right.
that alone.
Right.
We're probably way undercharging.
That's all right. We got to start someplace.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's
Get yourself a deal.
so.
Bye, sweetie. Where are you going? Oh. So we're down one kid here. That's good. 2 dogs, 1 kid. Well, 2 kids.
So,
Actually, if we go back down to Puerto Rico again, we'd just behave like kids.
right, without kids to have to babysit.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would like to get. I would like to go longer. We were only down there for 5 days.
yeah.
And I don't really think you can figure out a place in 5 days.
Right.
Plus, I'd like someplace more off the beaten track,
Right.
near the ocean.
And it's hard to get a feel for anything. Like, I mean, we were restricted because we were traveling with kids that we had to go on their spring break.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if we would have had a lot better choices of Airbnbs and stuff like that. If you,
Oh yeah, I'm sure the
you know.
prices also.
Right.
So after May is when the season ends down there. So the prices probably are half, and the amount of people probably where we were half.
Yeah.
Now I did find, because I talked to our Uber driver, she was great. She was telling me that when you pay off your house, you never pay property tax again. That's cool, and it factors into passing the house on to your family members because now you have some. I mean, this house every year, right? After 20 years,
Yeah.
like half the amount of money you made on the house was paid in property tax.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That takes away it, and then we had another Uber driver. This kid had 14,000 Uber drivings, right? And what he does is he only drives during the high season, like 6 months a year, and he holds out of that money, and then he goes on backpacking trips all over the world.
Oh, nice.
And he was about to go to Peru, and he's telling me, this place, that way. How cool is that?
Yeah.
He also told me that when you turn 26 down there, you stop paying federal income tax.
Huh. I never heard that.
Well, you don't pay if you're from the mainland.
Yeah.
There's no federal income tax.
Oh, really?
And it pisses them off because they don't offer that.
Yeah.
And all these incentives for investing money. They're like, no, we want investment from over there. Huh. We don't really care about you because you're already here.
Yeah.
And he just goes, yeah, it's a real bone of contention.
Huh.
Gas prices weren't bad.
No, they were
like $2.75 a gallon.
Right.
The rental was a little pricey, or was that the same as here?
I think the rental is expensive because of where it was. I mean, we were on the beach.
And everything was dented down there. I mean, all the car. I mean,
I wouldn't want to.
Well, right. There's no, like at a stoplight, you might know, but I couldn't figure it out. Could you?
Mm.
It was pretty much whoever has the guts to go goes.
Yeah, it was. Walking was tricky too, but they stopped for you, which was nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if it's cultural or law or whatever, but I mean, there's no really good opportunity to like take that step out.
Right. There's no crosswalks or anything like that. They just stop.
Yeah. So it was nice because like I try and make eye contact with them, so they like look like they're going to stop, and then they stop, and then you start walking, and then but people are pretty good about that.
And we learned that cops can't speak English.
Not all, at least selectively. At least selectively, they chose
yeah,
not to.
if you had $100, they'd speak perfect English.
I find that I was speaking to a police officer, or I was going to attempt to ask him a question, and he rolled down his window and he just said, "No Inglés," and then rolled his window back up. He didn't even wait for me to ask my question. I kind of think that was just like he was like, I don't want to ask a.
I have a feeling that although the housekeeper came early, so you guys left, and we had the place till like 11, and the housekeeper just walked in at 10:30, and there's another thing, the meta glasses.
Yeah.
That whole thing that he did on stage. They don't do that.
Oh.
Meta glasses will translate a phrase.
Oh, okay. So they didn't.
So that guy said it loud enough. The phrase he gave allowed Zucker, but you can't have a conversation.
Oh, okay. So it's fake. That's fake.
It was, it was misleading.
Right. Certainly misleading.
Certainly misleading.
Because they made it sound like it was going to be real time, like as they're talking to you.
I put them on right now, and you can say in Spanish "bologna," and maybe I could say "baloney."
Yeah.
But yeah, what he did on stage, I don't know why blow up the expectations.
Unless they're hoping that their technology is going to be soon behind, but.
Well, that's fine, but
But why don't you wait so you can launch it? Yeah.
Now I will say that so I this is how I have been using it more is hey Meta. Yes. This woman's voice. You can change the voice, by the way. I'm like, send a text message to, and it will. And it'll say to that person, yes. Is this the message you want me to send? Send.
Okay.
And if I said call you, it will just call you. So I'm using it more and more like my assistant.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you have your phone down, it says message from so and so just came in.
Is it better than did you ever use Google Assistant or Siri before?
No, and I've always stayed away from those because
Siri.
I fundamentally don't like. I don't like the fact that my glasses are talking to me in my head.
Yeah.
But I'm finding it convenient.
Yeah. The Siri is, I think, the artificial unintelligent.
Well, is Siri Amazon?
Apple.
Okay. The Amazon one, they just told everybody, we're going to record everything you say.
Right. You can
and use it for AI. Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Okay, but, I mean, the average person is not going to opt out.
Right.
They're going to allow that to happen.
There's been so many examples that, if people don't have cats, you could start talking about, saying, "Oh, here, kitty, kitty," and all this stuff, and within the hours,
you get advertisement.
You're going to get advertisement for cat litter.
Yeah.
So now Amazon can push it. Amazon's good though. They seem to, yeah. I actually turned on all of those things, like all the acceptances, because I'm like, let's see what it can do. I'm aware of it, but
I will admit about 2 years ago, I gave in. I had BlackBerries up until then, which really were incredibly private.
Right.
A lot of software wouldn't even they wouldn't even let you put it on it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it was encrypted to begin with, and I think that's probably why it got faded out. Is the government didn't like.
It was so good.
And it might have been I think the government actually was behind BlackBerry, but that's another subject. So I'm just now in the last year going, what the heck? I can't beat them. They have literally taken over life. So I'm falling behind by not.
And I feel like I'm a pretty intelligent, well-rounded person, and I would rather have
He is.
my I would rather have my thoughts and phrases being fed into artificial intelligence and at least having that algorithm versus somebody that like
Some moron.
right, some moron that doesn't know that they're being recorded and like or at so
Actually, when I see these Tesla people yelling at Tesla, they're morons.
uh, awaken with JP.
They're Soros morons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
George Soros is putting these people.
Yeah.
And one of the protests, the second hit noon, 75% walked away.
It's like
they're getting paid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's sad that we're just like, there's so much real stuff that we could fix now. It's sad that we have to deal with. And, in essence, George Soros is an outsider.
Yeah.
He wasn't born in this country. He was born in Germany. He worked for the Nazis.
Yeah.
They call him a survivor, Holocaust survivor.
Was he?
He would literally, his job, first of all, he lied. And this guy said he was not Jewish, he was Christian. So he was never thought of as a German Jew, right? He worked for the Nazis, identifying like art and collectibles of Jews that they then stole from them.
Oh, that's too bad.
So for years, when someone would say something about George Soros, they're like, the Holocaust survivor? And they'd use that to shut people up.
Right. They like to use fear and intimidation
and a lot of the USAID money was going to his groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the United States, through the Democrats, was paying for its own demise.
Yeah. All the public news stations are really kind of calling it the fall of the Democratic Party because of their own actions. They've been in bed
exposed.
They've been exposed, but at the very least they were dishonest about their relationship with some of this money or influence. It's too bad.
I'm going to give one example of USAID money going to an NGO. So the term NGO, the abbreviation is non-government organizations. In other words, the U.S. government can't legally spend money on this. So they give the money to an NGO, a non-government organization, and they do their bidding.
Oh, sure.
So there's I think he's a senator in the White House. His wife gets $2 million a year for her NGO. Now, her NGO works against the regular lives of Americans.
Yeah.
So we have been spending billions of dollars of our money to screw ourselves.
Right. Right.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
That's why they're so pissed.
Right.
That's why they hate Elon and Trump and me and you. I don't know how you feel about it, but
so when you pay your taxes this next couple weeks, remember what they're spending it on.
Not only that, you're spending it on the interest.
The deficit.
Yeah. 8% of the national debt goes to pay people for Medicaid who are illegally receiving it in other countries.
That's a big number, 8%.
8%.
That's a big
And now
number.
we're paying interest on that, 8%.
Right. So.
Well, let's hope that things get better.
Right.
I mean, there's a saying I heard, when you really clean the house,
Yeah.
dirt starts coming through the floors.
Right. Well, they're calling it drain the swamp.
Right. We're definitely in dirt is coming through the floors. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the Democrats are guilty, and definitely a good portion of the Republicans are guilty of this.
Yeah.
They had to have known this crap was going on.
I think in some ways, I think some people get into politics for this reason. I think they get into it because they know that opportunities for wealth and corruption exist.
Oh, obviously. I mean, when you get paid $200,000 a year or $260,000 and you're worth $50 million.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the issue, right?
I'm a pretty good businessman, but I don't think I could turn $250,000 a year's salary. I mean, I'm assuming they have expenses too.
Like, well, and it's
like
all
mortgage and car payments and insurance, like everybody else does. So, how much do you even have left of the $250,000? But now you're investing that, and now you're worth $50 million in 5 years.
Yeah, right. I
think that's impossible.
I was working one time with a flight attendant that was a flight attendant on Air Force 2. This was years ago. Yeah, the vice president stuff. And cabinet members and stuff like that. But he would say that they would fly down to these cabinet meetings, and it would be on some billionaire's yacht, and there would be scuba gear for everybody, including the flight attendants of Air Force One. Everybody was everybody for the plane, including the flight attendants.
It was on the take, in essence.
And there was like scuba gear, beautiful women, free-flowing wine, and unlimited abundance.
I think we should do that.
And they would spend 3 days doing this, and then they would fly back home, and that was the meeting. So it was just like, all of a sudden, because it was in a different country. I mean, whoever's agenda that billionaire.
I have a fantasy idea about how to run Congress. Here's my idea: pay them way more.
And
pay them $1 billion a year.
Yeah.
They take one dime.
They can't take any special interest
money. They take one dime, they're shot.
Or fired.
No! Give them the freaking death penalty, because they won't do it.
Yeah.
It has to be 100% for the people. And what happens is, our congressmen are our representatives.
Yeah.
And the stats show that 85% of the time they vote against us.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, none of my friends said, God, I hope they hire more IRS agents.
Right.
No one I know said that.
Right.
But they all voted for it, right?
Right.
Or any of these silly, stupid things
that
they vote for. None of us.
Yeah, and all the PAC money. This is a good governmental civics lesson, because people really need to understand what's going on.
Well, it literally is going to bankrupt us. If Trump had not been elected, and it stayed the same with Kamala, everything would have just kept
money. The fiat money
would have just kept going down. It is fiat money, because it's just getting printed, right?
Right.
And when Elon Musk says, if we don't get our handle on this, we're going to bankrupt our country, he's 100% correct. I mean, we'll get to such an inflationary point where, like Germany, I think we
won't be able to afford the interest payment.
Well, you won't be able to afford anything, and
Right.
the inflation will take
Right.
us down the tubes.
Right. That I publicly post. I'm not very public on social media, but I publicly, when the government during COVID started sending people money, and people were like, "Oh, this is all. Look at what good is." And I'm like, maybe you want to check out Venezuela, because I said you can't print $3 trillion and not have inflation.
Yeah.
And then people are like, the price of groceries went up. It's like, no shit, it went up.
All right. Oh.
So, yeah. What do you think inflation is?
Well, so what we have, not to knock the public, but I guess I am knocking the public, is
Public has got to smarten up.
They do. And who they listen to.
You got to smarten up.
Who they listen to has to change. You know, right now, like Canada in this tariff war, okay? So we charge Canada almost no tariffs.
Right.
And some things, like milk, they charge 240%. They don't let our banks in. They have all sorts of restrictions. And all Trump said was, we don't want your drugs coming across. We don't want your illegal aliens coming across. Ah! You know, all we heard is, and they're like 2% of our GDP.
Yeah.
Canada doesn't matter.
No, I mean,
to the United States.
No.
We could not trade with them at all, and on paper, we'd be way ahead. Because if you can't sell your things to them, but they have no restrictions to sell it to you,
right.
It's not fair.
Right.
And killing off our population with drugs, it sort of sucks. And it's all they had to do is go, yeah, we're going to tighten up our borders, just like Trump asked, and Trump gave them months to do it. And they're like, yeah, we're going to raise the price of electricity, and we're going to make you pay. Actually, we're already paying.
The one thing that the Biden administration fucked up on, and it was an agenda because he did it the first day he was in office, is he canceled the Keystone Pipeline through the United States. But the Keystone Pipeline was a very good deal. I mean, I grew up in the Dakotas.
Well, it was delivering oil that really didn't have another pathway.
Right. And I grew up in North and South Dakota, and I talked to family and I talked to people that live in those neighborhoods. They were reliant, and sometimes for the first time in generations, the working people had enough money to send their kids to college. For the first time. That was the very first thing, day one
and
of
what
office.
did they tell them when they fired everybody?
You
know what the administration told them?
No.
Learn how to code.
Yeah.
The guy who drives a D5 doesn't want to learn how to code.
Right. Right. And
he's good at moving.
Right.
Gears
and
his feet and his eyeballs.
But what wasn't restricted is that oil flowing the other direction. And so now the Keystone Pipeline flows into Canada. Our oil going into Canada, no tariffs, no restrictions. So it's like, nice. So we'll just import our oil from Saudi Arabia, and we'll send our oil into Canada.
Well, I'll keep this as simple as I can. But green energy is a tiny portion of what the world actually uses. It's a couple of percentage points.
And most of it is fake.
But
an illusion.
Yeah, let's go. It's more than reality. Let's say 10% of all the energy used in the world is solar and wind and whatever, right? The other 90% is what runs the show.
Yeah.
So you can say, I'm not going to do the pipeline in the Keystone Pipeline, but you still have to make up for that energy somewhere.
Well,
yeah, and if it's not from these guys, then it's from those guys, but it costs more.
And
it only takes like 0.5% for the price to plummet.
And my stepdad was a electrical worker for Basin Electric in South Dakota, and they would supply, work on, and ensure the integrity of these power lines. Guess what? When they build a solar plant or a wind farm, all of that still needs backup from either hydroelectric, coal, nuclear.
My dad always said when the sun goes down or it's a cloudy day, solar doesn't work.
And I proved that during my RV trip.
Yeah, it's the 80-20 rule, right? So even if you get 20% from this, 80% has to come from other options.
Right.
And they're expensive.
Right. When I was on my RV trip, that was part of the thing I was testing. It was the solar package for the RV company. They had the solar package they were selling. And one of my episodes, I said, solar needs sun. You know, you can't take your solar package to Portland, Oregon, and expect that you're going to get power. It just didn't work. I mean, in fact, and then if you drain your batteries to absolute zero, then it kills your batteries too. So now you have to go buy $500 worth of new batteries and stuff like that. But anyway,
we're almost there. I think technology will figure these things out, and solar will get better, and everything else will get better. But it only should be an option because it's cheaper.
Cheaper or better or greener?
Cheaper. No, you know what? Greener has gotten us into this conundrum, which people think like the windmill is greener, but by the time you put the oil and you make the huge fan and the concrete pad it's on, it's not better.
Even a Tesla, which I mean, I'm not against Tesla.
I love the technology,
right? But it says it takes 7 years for the internal combustion engine versus a Tesla, because of the development of the batteries. It takes 7 years for a Tesla to become more green.
I would say the Teslas even today are early adopters.
Right. It's
the beginning of the technology.
I agree.
I'll bet you in 10 years Tesla puts out a car that is green.
I love the idea. I'm just giving the facts that it takes 7 years for a Tesla to become more green than a internal combustion engine. Yeah. And so now if you have internal combustion, how many 7-year-old Teslas do you see out there? Not a lot. Tesla's been around for a long enough time, but people that own Teslas probably get a new Tesla every 3 years.
Yeah, it's an issue.
Right. What do you do with the batteries?
The batteries are an issue.
The batteries are a big issue.
Yeah, right? I don't. My Volvo, $200 here, $300 there, because springs run out or wear out, or parts wear out. So that's normal.
Maybe next episode I can take you back in time to. I have a 1965 GT350 Ford Mustang.
Well, if we had a huge solar flood the other day, right?
Yeah.
My car wouldn't work. Your Cherokee wouldn't work, but that car would still work.
Right.
You'd be like, you'd be driving around waving at everybody because there's no computers in that car.
There's.
Your radio may not work because it has transistors in it. Is it a stock radio?
I upgraded the radio.
Okay, so your radio's not going to work.
But the original radio's in there, but I threw a Bluetooth radio
the original's probably still transistors.
I don't think those work.
I think if a huge electrical storm came through from the sun, we had one, but it wasn't. It didn't shoot at the Earth. It could have.
Yeah.
I think the 4th of April, that same spot will be pointed at Earth. So it was big enough of an eruption of the sun that if it had, I'm pretty sure we would be recording this show right now.
So, when we would fly for the airline, if we were flying like overseas, the dispatch would actually plan. There's actually holes in the ozone that we avoid because it'll make people physically sick. Pilots and flight attendants and passengers also, but it'll make them physically sick. So actually, we would route it around ozone holes. But all that's solar energy, solar flares. But
it was a good episode 11.
Episode 11.
Yeah, we're chugging along. And if you need a commercial,
Dogs Red
Google, this is the guy that can make one for you. And there's Frankie.
I guarantee you, anything that you can envision, we can create.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's fun. It's to me, it's art.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And I have no idea what we'll talk about next show, but the way things are going, something will.
I'm sure something will come up in the next 7 days.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Good night.
Good night.